Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be duping a whole bunch of products using my Milani collection. So I thought it would be really fun, and if you'd like to see this with other drugstore brands, let me know. So altogether I was able to find 11 different high-end products that my Milani collection dupes. I'm sure there are more out there, but I don't have every single Milani product. So if you guys know of any, let us know down in the comments below. So let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. And the first product that I wanted to dupe was the Marc Jacobs Tantastic Bronzer. So this is $49. It's a huge bronzer. If you look at it, it's almost like the size of my head. Not really, but I mean, it's giant. And I love the color of this so much, and I've actually shown this dupe before on my channel, so if you guys have been watching me a while, you've seen this, but it's such a good one. So basically, this color is like my favorite color of bronzer ever. It's sort of on the cooler tone side, but it has a little bit of warmth, so it doesn't look like a grayish sort of contour shade. And Milani makes the perfect dupe for this, and that is their Silky Matte Bronzer in the shade 2, which is Sunkissed. And this bronzer is basically identical. If you look at the two side by side in the pan, I feel like the Milani one looks just slightly darker than the Marc Jacobs, but once you swatch them out, there's hardly any difference. They look so super similar, and on top of that, they both have the same kind of mild coconut scent. It's nothing too in your face like the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. It's nothing too crazy. It's just a little hint of coconut. I smell it when I'm putting it on, and then as soon as it's on, I don't smell it anymore. And they also both have the same really silky blendable feel, and they're not muddy at all. So now that I have the Milani one, I feel kind of silly for spending $49 on this one, but because it's so big, I actually like to use this one for body bronzing. I'm not really a big self-tanner person, so I take a really huge fluffy brush, and I usually use this, you know, on my shoulders and chest area, or even on my legs sometimes in the summertime if I know I'm not going in a pool or anything like that. And it's just beautiful. So that's kind of how I've been using this one. But once this is gone, I'm just gonna buy this one from now on because it's so good. Okay, so the next dupe is a blush dupe, and there's actually gonna be quite a few of those in today's video, so I hope you like blush dupes, but this one is a dupe for Laura Geller's Baked Blush and Brighten in the shade Tropic Hues. I love these blushes so much. This is actually a mini size. Usually the bigger ones are quite a bit bigger than this, but I got this like with a sample kit or something, and I just fell in love with Laura Geller's baked blushes because they are basically, they start as a cream and they pour them onto an Italian terracotta tile, and then they bake them into a powder. So they're really smoothing on your skin, and they just, like, if you have dry skin or more mature skin, a baked powder is just so super flattering. And I also love how they kind of swirl a bunch of different colors together in these, because it just gives a little bit more depth and dimension when you put it on your face. It's not just one flat color. So the perfect dupe for this from Milani is the baked blush in the shade Berry Amore. This is so close, and if you look at the two side by side, I think the Laura Geller one looks like it has a little bit more of that marbling in it, a little bit of different colors swirled in, but once you actually swatch them out, I think these are both like the same shade of peachy bronze. Like, they're so beautiful. And both of them have that little bit of sheen where it's not glittery. I know sometimes the Milani baked blushes can be glittery. This particular one isn't. It just gives a really beautiful satiny type of finish. It's so gorgeous. I'm actually wearing one on one cheek and one on the other today, and you really cannot tell the difference once they're on your face. They basically look and perform the exact same way. So if you like the idea of the Laura Geller ones but don't want to spend $28, definitely check out the Milani baked blushes because they're made the exact same way and they perform the same as well. The next dupe is one that I've talked about on my channel a couple of times now, but I didn't want to leave it out since it is a Milani dupe, and that is for the Glossier Cloud Paint in the shade Dusk. These are $18 for this little tube, and they're really nice cream blushes, but I found that the Milani Cheek Kiss Liquid Blush in the shade Nude Flush is basically an identical dupe for dusk. Not only are they the exact same color, but also I think the formulas feel almost identical in these as well. They start out feeling really creamy, almost gel-like, and then once you put them on your cheeks, they are dewy for, I don't know, a couple seconds, and then they set down and they don't budge all day. They don't stay sticky. I find that neither one of these disturbs my foundation when I'm trying to apply it. They're just really easy to blend, and they both set down to the exact same finish. I wouldn't say it's like a powder finish, but it's also something that does dry down. It doesn't stay sticky on your cheeks, which is definitely a pet peeve of mine. So I think these two are pretty much identical, and the Milani one is like around half the price. And also when it comes to cream blushes, I recently tried this new Tarte Breezy cream blush in the shade Peach Sunset. This one's a cream versus a liquid, but it kind of has a very similar effect to the liquid one. It's just, I think, a little bit easier to manage, especially because you can just go ahead and swirl a brush right in here, versus with this, you have to kind of put it on your hand and then take a brush or a sponge or your fingers. Personally, that's my preferred method, is to just stick my fingers in there. I know it's really just quick and easy, but I like to just swirl my fingers around and just kind of tap it right on my cheeks. And this is a beautiful formula because it dries to a powdery finish instantly. So again, you're not gonna have that sticky feeling. It doesn't move your foundation underneath. And while I was using this for the first time, I thought this reminds me so much of the Milani Cheek Kiss cream blushes. And so I dug through my collection to see if there was a color that matched this one. And sure enough, I found this one. This is called Nude Kiss. And when you look at the two side by side, I think that the Milani one looks a little bit deeper in the pan, but once I swatched them out on my arm, I noticed that it actually looked way closer than I thought. I think the Milani one is maybe just slightly peachier, and maybe the Tarte one is slightly pinker. But the other day I actually did a test and I put one on one cheek and one on the other. And once you actually blend them out, they look pretty much indistinguishable from each other. I think they basically look the same. So I think if you like the idea of this Tarte cream blush, don't spend $27, $28 on it, whatever it is. Just go for this one. It's around $9, I think, and it's so long lasting. I didn't notice a difference in the wear time with either one of these. And like I said, they feel exactly the same on your cheeks once you put them on. Okay, so the next product I actually don't have, because since I discovered the Milani dupes several years ago, I haven't repurchased the high-end version. So that is the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. This used to be my holy grail setting spray. It was really the only one that I felt kept my makeup in place all day, especially in the summertime. I don't usually wear setting spray in the winter just because I have dry skin and usually my makeup holds up okay. But once it's humid outside, I definitely like a setting spray that's really gonna lock everything in. Plus, I'm not a fan of wearing powder, so I just think setting spray is the best. And that one is amazing. But Milani's Make It Last setting spray is such a good dupe for the Urban Decay. It has a really, really fine mist on it, so it's not something that is gonna be like spitting all these big droplets on your face and making your face feel wet. It also doesn't have like a super heavy scent to it. It has like a really mild scent, but it's nothing too offensive, and it really makes my makeup last. I noticed a huge difference when I use this one versus other setting sprays that I've collected over time. So this is probably either my third or fourth bottle of this one now, and even though the bottle is pretty small, I feel like it doesn't get used up very fast because the mist is so fine. It takes a while to go through this, and I don't really use this every day because most days I'm just home. I don't really care if my makeup lasts all day, so really I tend to reach for a setting spray just either if I'm gonna be out all day and I want to make sure things hold up, or I also sometimes use this to wet eyeshadows to make them pop a little bit more, and it's great for that too. The next dupe is for one of the prettiest highlighters in my collection, and unfortunately this has been discontinued. It's the So Hollywood. illuminator from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And this is the most beautiful gold highlight ever. It has such a reflective quality to it, but at the same time, it's so smooth and it's so finely milled. It's just beautiful. So I did find a highlighter from Milani that is almost identical, and this is their baked highlighter in the shade Champagne Dioro. And this, I think because it's a baked formula, it reminds me so much of the ABH because again, it's so super smooth on your skin, but at the same time, it's incredibly reflective as well. So I just feel like between these two, they look just about spot on, both in terms of the intensity that they give and also just the color itself. And they also feel the same and they look very similar when you put them on your skin because of just how smooth both of these powders are. So you guys know I love a baked powder, and this one, I think it's a pressed powder. I guess it could be baked. It doesn't have like that domed look that baked powders usually have, but there's something about the way that this one feels that kind of reminds me of like the Hourglass powders that are baked. So it could very well be. They have this kind of beautiful pattern stamped into it. So I'm not 100% sure, but these two are just so alike. If you always wanted So Hollywood, I think you could definitely just grab this one, and it's basically like getting the same thing. I also have a dupe for the Fenty Gloss Bomb in the shade Fenty Glow. This is a really beautiful kind of rosy bronze shade, and I really like how smooth this feels on your lips. It's not a sticky gloss at all, and I have mentioned this one before on my channel as well, and it's the Milani Ludicrous Lip Gloss in She's All That. So the two of these side by side, I mean, they looked almost identical in the tube, and once I swatched them out, I felt like the color was pretty much identical as well. But when it comes to formula, I think, again, they're very, very similar in that the Milani is also not sticky. It's not like one of those thick, tacky glosses. It's just really smooth on your lips, and it gives like about the same amount of coverage and color. So I know a lot of people are really crazy for these Fenty glosses, but honestly, these are just as good. They're not available on the Milani website anymore, but you can still find them at Walgreens.com. They're also on Walmart's website as well. So I'll leave them linked down below in case you want to check these out before they disappear. I don't know if they're going anywhere or if they're just exclusive to stores versus Milani's website, but I think these are great glosses. I actually have all the shades and I wear them a lot, so they're really a good one to check out as well. Okay, so now back to the blushes. I wanted to take a little break from the blushes and throw in some other products, but I do have a couple more to share with you and some other stuff as well. So the first one is a dupe for Benefit's California blush. So this one is a really bright pop of coral. I love this blush. I tend to wear this more in the spring and summer. I think it is just stunning, and it does have like a gold overspray, but once you use that and kind of wear that away, it's really just more of a coral blush. So right now mine barely has any of the gold left, so it really is just more of a coral color. And I thought it was very similar to Milani's Rose blush in the shade Coral Cove. When you look at the two side by side, I think Milani's definitely looks a bit darker in the pan than the Benefit one does, and I think it just kind of throws you off because there's that golden overspray over the Benefit, so it makes it look a little bit lighter. But once you actually swatch it, and I swatched it in the area where I don't have the gold overspray, these are almost identical. I mean, they are so close in a swatch, and when you put them on your cheeks, I think they really, once they're blended out, they look pretty much the same. The only difference is that the Milani one is very matte, and I think the Benefit, I don't know if I was picking up a little bit of the gold shimmer still or not, but it has a little bit more of a satiny finish to it. So I think the finish is just slightly different, but I think the color is spot on. If you want a really beautiful kind of punchy pop of coral for your cheeks in the spring, check out this one, because I mean, this one is really pricey. For this little box, it's like 30 bucks, and I think this one is around 9 bucks or 10 bucks. It's really affordable, and you get so much product in here. I mean, it's actually pretty heavy. These, I hardly make a dent in them. I've had them for years and years, and they still look pretty much the same as when I first got them. They're super pigmented. You hardly have to pick up any products. So I think they're just such a good deal, and they come in beautiful colors. Speaking of actually the Milani Rose blushes, I have another dupe, And this one is for Tarte's Exposed Blush. Now I have this, do you guys remember this? The big blush book from Tarte. This came out, oh my gosh, it was years ago now, but it had all of their best-selling blush colors in one spot. So since I've always had this, I've never purchased them individually because I have all of their core shades. So Exposed is this one right in the middle here. So I'll show you guys a close-up of that next to, what is this one called? Romantic Rose from Milani. And this is also one of their rose blushes, and they both are this really pretty pinky nude shade. It's gorgeous. Exposed has been one of my favorite blushes forever. And once I saw that the Milani one was pretty much an identical dupe once you swatch it out, I was really excited because the Tarte one is expensive. And at some point I am gonna have to say goodbye to this big blush book because it is years old now. I wanna say I probably got it in 2016, maybe 2017. It's probably 4 or 5 years old at this point. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to use these, but knowing that I already have that same color in this Milani one that also lasts forever is a really good thing. So next up, I also have dupes for these Rare Beauty tinted lip balms. So I have 2 shades, Thankful and Praise. So the dupes that I found are these new Milani Fetish lip balms. These are so super close to the Rare Beauty ones. I couldn't believe it when I swatched them. So let's look at the first one, which is Praise from Rare Beauty. And the dupe that I found is Milani's Lustful. They're both a really gorgeous peachy color, perfect for spring and summer again. And looking at them in the tube, they look very similar. And once they're swatched out, oh my gosh, they are so super close and almost identical. And these 2 formulas feel very similar as well. Both of them are really, really highly pigmented. So I would say more so than your typical tinted lip balm. At first, when I saw these Milani glosses, I kind of was thinking maybe they're similar to the Persona E balms that I just got recently, and I was trying to dupe those. But the Persona balms are so much more sheer than these are. These swatch almost exactly like a lipstick. They're just so pigmented, and the Rare Beauty ones are the same. Even though they look like tinted lip balms, I feel like they just pack so much more of a punch than your typical lip balm. And also when you put these on, they have the same sort of feel. They're not overly glossy, but they're not matte. They're kind of right in between where they just leave your lips looking a little bit dewy, but not like really shiny. So I feel like these are really similar. I'm sure the ingredients are not, but just in terms of the way they feel on your lips and the way that they look. And then the other color that I found also is for the shade Thankful. And the dupe that I found from Milani is called Tied Up. So these are both a rosy brown shade. And when you swatch them out, again, I think these look identical. It's so hard to tell the difference. I'm actually wearing the Milani one in the video today, and I just love how much color you get from it. I actually applied this now well over an hour ago. I've had stuff to drink, and because they're so pigmented, they just last forever. They really stay on like a traditional lipstick would versus a tinted lip balm that's usually gone like the first time you take a drink or like after 15 minutes or something. So I think these Milani balms are so good. If you haven't checked these out, definitely take a look, because I think especially now, like when we're going into spring and summer and the warm weather, I always tend to wear formulas more like this than something that's more heavy. So these are great. And then last but not least, I have another Glossier dupe, and unfortunately I do not have the product anymore. I had one, I used most of it, but it was just getting too old and it was all kind of separated and everything, so I got rid of it. But I had mine for a long time, so I'm really familiar with it, and that is the Glossier Skin Tint. So this is just a really, really hydrating, super light coverage foundation, if you could even call it that. I feel like it's more of a tinted moisturizer. And when Milani launched their Glow Hydrating Skin Tint, I immediately thought of the Glossier one. And honestly, this feels pretty much identical on your skin. It has almost like an oily feel to it. It's not something that like sinks right in and disappears. It takes a little bit of time. It's a very, very dewy. It's super, super sheer. I feel like maybe the Milani one has just the slightest bit more coverage than the Glossier one does, but just barely. I think they're very, very similar. And I've actually seen other people here on YouTube when they reviewed this new Milani one make the same comparison to the Glossier, so I know I'm not crazy, but I feel like they were really trying to dupe this because it is that close. It's like almost the same thing, at least to me. So I have mine in the shade Fair to Light. I'll show you guys quickly, just me putting this on my hand a little bit so you can see the coverage. And it looks like it's gonna cover quite a bit when you first put it on, but then it just kind of sinks into your skin. My dry skin really loves to drink up this formula. It does remain a little bit sticky and tacky. It doesn't ever completely dry down either. It stays just slightly dewy and tacky for, I would say, most of the day, for at least a couple of hours. I think finally on me it does dry down, but it takes a while. So you have to be willing to use like a cream product on top of it, because I find that my skin, just when it has that level of dewiness to it, powders don't really apply that well on top. So this is just something that I use on my like very easy days when I just want my skin to be hydrated and just a tiny bit of coverage, just kind of to even everything out. But I think this is an amazing dupe for the Glossier Skin Tint. If you've tried that one before, I don't think you'll be disappointed with this because it feels almost identical. All right, guys, so those are all my Milani dupes. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was so much fun for me to make. So again, if you'd like to see me do this with more drugstore brands, I will gladly comb through my collection and try to come up with some dupes for you guys. I know when I polled my Facebook group recently about what types of videos you'd like to see me do, dupes were like at the #1 spot by far. So I definitely want to incorporate more of these into my content. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, as always. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you go. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.